Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What things do clients always think is unique about their divorce, but is actually common? Story 1, Paralegal here. When cheating is involved, the client will often bring in mountains of photographs, text message printouts, bank statements showing where cash was withdrawn, etc. They need me to understand how awful this is and they want me to go stake out their soon-to-be cheating ex. Cheating is insanely common. My standard reply of, yes, I understand. Yes, I have seen hundreds of pictures and thousands of text messages. Yes, she is terrible for doing this to you. Is always met with, but you don't understand, this is the worst thing that has ever happened. Trust me, I understand, you are coming to see me on your worst day ever. I will be sure that the attorney understands your file inside and out, but you aren't going to shock us, and I am not Facebook stalking your soon-to-be ex. Well, I might, just for fun, but I won't go on a stakeout with you. Story 2, I met a divorce lawyer in India, and you know what's unique for a divorce lawyer in India? Divorce. The profession didn't really exist until about 15 years ago, and even now it's very difficult convincing people that they really do need a divorce because it's so shameful in the culture. Story 3, mine is actually so bad that the lawyers always tell me she's the worst they've ever seen. No kidding. Here's a sample. Over 24 calls with false reports to Child Protective Services. All false and cleared every time, but still have to pay for representation. Over 12 lawsuits and protective orders attempted in first year alone. Won all of them, but had to pay for representation. Called Adult Protective Services on me claiming I could handle my basic needs. This was at least very easy to fight. Gets gross about $4,000 a month in child support, just uses it in schemes to get at me. Married my mentally ill only brother in order to put stress on entire extended family and never let me get away from her. Anonymous tip. To FBI. Had all my electronics raided and taken. Never heard from again after 2 years. Warrant was on house I had just moved into, didn't even have my name on it. Very traumatizing. Had to sell off my company, so went broke. Tires are consistently slashed. Multiple police reports called. Twice in one day once. That I had kidnapped my own kids that were with me. Have to keep multiple copies of divorce papers everywhere I go. And that's not even close to half of it. Also, she divorced me because she got pregnant by some sack of shit she was having an affair with. Story 4, my mom's a divorce lawyer and I asked her, and she said that most people who she works with seem to think they are unique with how much of an asshole their ex is. Story 5, asked a friend about this once. He said how many people come in peacefully together. It's not the big standard and it's not everyone, but it happens, way more than you'd expect. Both spouses just want the divorce and to move on. Apparently it happens quite a bit. He said that sometimes they'll devolve into a bit of a battle over assets, rarely kids, but more often than not if a couple comes in together he has a bad day because he makes the least money off of them. He said one couple, collectively after their divorce, sent him a Christmas basket one year. Basically they wanted out and he helped navigate the legalities of it, and everyone was happy. He also had a story of a woman who had to consult with 2 private investigators for her husband cheating. The first one she hired was the woman he was having an affair with. Story 6, I often receive warnings from clients about how clever, or smart, their spouse is and to be careful as to not let them manipulate me. I don't want to be insulting so I just say something like, I am a professional, etc. In reality the other spouse has never been very clever at all. They just had power over my client that they've built through long-term emotional and psychological abuse. The client is usually pretty delighted to finally see their abuser get ripped to shreds in court. Context. Family lawyer working with domestic violence survivors. Story 7. Not so much about what do my clients think is unique, but something I've noticed. Only the rarest of the rare client can understand how they are super illogical when it comes to their divorce. Divorce isn't rocket surgery, but almost everyone tries to make it that way. Story 8. Another confirmation. My ex and I worked everything out ourselves, attended a couple of free workshops offered by the local family court and ended up paying a total of about $500 for filing fees and postage. We are both white-collar professionals with substantial assets, including a house and 2 young kids. It can be done, people. Story 9. I'm in divorce and family law. Our clients always think their ex is the biggest asshole ever and that they're totally innocent. Well, during the discovery phase of litigation, we get to review bank statements, credit card statements, tax documents, etc. And we have also been known to subpoena employment records, etc., which can show our client has been lying about income, blowing money on casinos, strip clubs, hotels with hookers, presents for a side piece, etc. Most of the time it comes out that our client is just as big of an asshole, if not a bigger asshole than the ex. Story 10. Yeah, but in family it's the worst. Civil, everyone is chill and knows how it's going to end more or less. Usually non-legal people have to deal with the clients on a personal level. Criminal, everyone is on their best behavior since incarceration and shit. Family is a completely different game. Everyone is terrible. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I've done insurance defense litigation, condominium law, and now I'm a criminal prosecutor. I'll avoid doing family law for my entire career if it's possible. Story 11. When all your time and efforts are directed at messing with someone, and you plot 24/7, then you can accomplish it. The kicker is that most of what she does is taxpayer funded, like the CPS cases or false protection order requests. The state is required by law to investigate every claim, lest they be accountable for YHAT1 case that slips through the cracks. These kind of things literally cost her nothing, and if she waits 90 days between them, I am unable to unseal the records due to privacy laws. I.e., I am powerless. Story 12, and ends up falling in love with soon-to-be ex-wife. Soon-to-be ex-husband discovers this and tries to sabotage the fledgling relationship, and the divorce lawyer writes him off as being petty and vindictive. The divorce lawyer also starts spending time with the soon-to-be ex's children, because they're going off the rails with the stresses caused by the divorce, and their parents' constant fighting. Well, it turns out that the soon-to-be ex-husband is right, and the soon-to-be ex-wife is a real piece of work who is lying to the lawyer about everything, and the divorce lawyer confronts her about this in a restaurant. They argue and he drives her home because she took the last bus to get there, where they pass a drunk man walking down the road. It's the soon-to-be ex-husband. The divorce lawyer picks him up and turns back to take him home as they've passed the apartment where he is living with his friend, and the soon-to-be exes are arguing. The divorce lawyer is distracted by their arguing and goes off the road. An ambulance is called, but the divorce lawyer dies at the scene. The soon-to-be exes realize what their hatred and pettiness for each other is causing, to the divorce lawyer, to their children and their friends, as they talk to the police, and the soon-to-be ex-wife discloses the full truth to the officer asking the questions and her soon-to-be ex-husband. The film ends as they look into each other's eyes and realize that maybe if they act like adults and resolve themselves to be better people, they can make their marriage work, recognize that each other has needs and desires that are unconventional in the traditional view of marriage, and they can do better for their family. In a post-credits scene we see that everything has gone tits up again. They're living apart, the son hangs out with gypsies and deals drugs, and their daughter is a whore. Edit. Why is everybody suggesting Adam Sandler? That's how you turn a good premise into a terrible film. Story 13. There are two main areas I've seen people are delusional about a divorce. Kids and assets. With kids, everyone screams about how much of a dick their spouse is and how the kids just absolutely hate that person. 9 times out of 10, the kids just want to move on and get back into a normal routine. They don't care a whole lot about the faults of each parent. With assets, most people don't realize that being married really is a partnership and that there are ways other than earning income that a spouse contributes to the marital pot. Nearly without fail, the higher-earning spouse is adamant that the court will be shocked by how little their spouse did and how there is no chance in hell their assets are going to be divided 50-50. When I practiced family law, a large portion of my job was tamping down expectations and having to just be real with people. Edit. A lot of people seem to be confusing alimony payments with division of marital assets. They are entirely different animals. Typically, the division of marital assets is solely based on when the assets were acquired and how they were acquired. On the other hand, alimony can be based on all kinds of factors, including, but not limited to, earning potential of each spouse, sacrifice of career by one spouse, spousal conduct, affairs, abuse, etc., expectation of lifestyle, many other factors that revolve around creating as smooth a transition to single life as possible. In addition, I'm not advocating one doctrine or another. I am simply trying to explain what it is about the law that many clients don't seem to understand about divorce when they sit down with me for the first time. If you don't like the current state of the law, get involved in the political process and change things. There are successful ballot and legislative initiatives sweeping the country right now that are, at least championed as, changing how courts treat fathers when it comes to divorce. Edit 2. Many of you see my username as odd for an attorney. I'll let you in on a little secret. Many of us lawyers are normal people that are just as depraved and perverted as the rest of you sick fucks. We just happen to have a job that often requires us to present an image of formality and decency. Regardless, Mel Gibson's _taint is not listed on my business card. Story 14. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but I know a few of them. Pets. Everyone focuses on child support, but you have no idea how much acrimony is caused by who is taking the cat in the divorce. I've even heard of parents doing child-style visitation agreements and pet support. Spiteful shit, like a wife trying to claim her ex-husband's signed jersey just to burn it or whatever. This happens all the time, and yet they all think that they are diabolical geniuses for wanting some acid just for the revenge value. The worst is when they tell their lawyer how much they really love that jersey and how much sentimental value it has, like they need to fool their lawyer. Bitch, your lawyer doesn't give a fuck why you want the jersey as long as you're paying him. Living together after divorce. Yeah, it's super weird. But a lot of couples own homes together and can't really quickly get out of that situation without simultaneously paying rent on a new place and mortgage on the old place. So they'll live together as they are divorcing and trying to sell the house, and even seeing other people. Which of course leads to more problems. Thinking that they have come up with some crazy new scheme that courts have never seen before that will allow them to keep everything and give their spouse nothing. And it's usually something illegal, generally hiding assets, and they've usually already started doing it. Story 15. We lived together during the divorce. I wanted 50% custody of the kids, and I knew leaving the house was leaving the kids, so I didn't, and she wouldn't, so we lived together for a year while having the divorce. She dated, brought me into the house, had sex with them, etc., but I refused to leave until the custody was settled. I got my 50% and moved out the next day. Story 16. Oh hells yeah. $1,500 per month. But I lucked out. My ex was really greedy and ignored her attorney. She was asking for $1,300 per month child support, and I was balking. Then my attorney recommended transitionary support and explained the difference between spousal and child. So I offered $1,200 transitionary spousal and $300 child support, and she jumped at the dollar amount, despite her attorney telling her it was a bad idea. My attorney just smiled. For those that don't know, spousal is income, tax-wise, for them. So, by giving her a huge chunk of spousal, she had to pay the taxes on it and I could deduct it, so I paid less and she got less. Transitionary support drops in half every 2 years, so it went from $1,200 to $600 to $300 over 6 years. That first drop really upset her. When we first started the proceedings, I begged her to arbitrate. She refused and lawyered up, so I have zero regrets in being a douchebag about it. Oh, one other piece of advice, and this is fucking huge: let the county deduct and distribute your child support as if you were a deadbeat dad. Why? Because when your kids turn 18, I was paying support until the last one was 21. The county cuts the checks directly to your kids, not your ex. I didn't realize this until 2 of my kids were over 18. My ex was keeping all of the money and my kids really wanted it in college, but she wouldn't give it to them and there was nothing I could do. Or so I thought. A very kind police officer explained this to me. I filed with the county, and suddenly my ex was getting less money. She tried to sue, but the judge was like, "For what? The county is collecting the money and paying it out. He's not behind at all. What's your deal?" My kids got their money, she got zip, and I was that much happier. Smiley face. Story 17. Family attorney, graciously leaving that area. Literally everything. Everything is practically the same. Money, kids, earnings, allegations, nothing is unique. If you can put away your bullshit and relish the fact that you are no longer going to be with this person you don't want to be with, let's make it easy. I've had complex divorces go super easy, and I've had simple ones drag on for years out of spite. Listen. 2. Your Attorney. You know what a good attorney does if he finds himself in a legal predicament? Gets an attorney. You're paying for his experience in the system. Almost guaranteed, if you go to trial, you will leave with less than you hoped for. You can 99% of the time get something better and cheaper if you agree. We don't want your case any longer than you do. If you have unrealistic goals and refuse to listen to our counsel, we will gladly bill you for the time. Most calls between attorneys start out, "What does your client want to do?" followed by, "I've told my client this, but they want to do that." 90% of the time I know, and the other attorney will know exactly how the court is going to rule. I have had countless hearings where we should have everything settled, one side won't agree, and we'll go and tell the judge the impasse and that we're gonna put on this little bit of testimony and let the judge rule. Congrats, that's 3 hours billable. If you are going to trial. In most places, family law is like a weird office setting. It's the same attorneys interacting with each other on a weekly to daily basis. Same with the judges. I inform my clients there to be respectful of the other attorney and the entire court staff. These are people I have ongoing business relationships with. If you see me having a friendly conversation with the other attorney prior to the hearing or even during a recess, we are not conspiring against you or just trying to milk you for all you have. Same thing. If you see the other attorney speaking with the judge, don't assume you are getting the shaft. They're likely social with the judge outside the courtroom, like I am. If you have dedicated family judge, and your attorney isn't on a good relationship with them, find another one. And please don't call me. If you have an emergency, talk to my assistant. She will determine if it is an emergency. It likely isn't. I will call you by the end of tomorrow. Story 18. Male potential clients come to me asking for help getting their child support lowered for all kinds of reasons that make sense to them but nobody else, especially not lawmakers, judges, or lawyers. My favorite is when they say they just had another kid with new wife or girlfriend and they expect that means their pre-existing child support obligation for that kid who lives 100% with mom should be cut drastically. When I tell them it doesn't really work that way, they get bent out of shape. Also, when they come to me and ask for a modification and learn that our state's guidelines went up since their last court order and that a modification would probably mean they pay more money, guys look at me like I must be crazy. Story 19. And then they yell at people like me that have to take their money from their paycheck and give to court for support order. I've had employee threaten me that he'd knife my tires if I take the money from his check. We took the money and made it his last check, too. Had lots of male employees dissolve into tears when they realize the money is coming out and I can't stop it. I end up just letting them get it all out. I've even had exes show up insisting I pay them their child support in cash. In our state, it all goes to a clearinghouse to be paid out. I called cops on one woman that said she wasn't leaving until I paid her the money she was owed. She got paid every week from the clearinghouse, but wanted the money on Tuesdays instead of Thursdays. She sat right down in our entry yelling, "Pay me," at top of her lungs. The police took her out yelling and screaming. They had 8 kids together. Not married. He is about the only one I've really ever felt sorry for. Story 20. I'm standing in a family courtroom that smells like heartbreak and cheap air freshener, sitting next to my client, Karen, a 45-year-old woman who's convinced her divorce is the apocalypse and her soon-to-be ex, Greg, is the devil incarnate. She's facing a settlement hearing, ranting about how Greg's the worst husband in history, and I'm her lawyer, trying to steer this shipwreck through the legal system without losing my sanity. Welcome to domestic relations, where every client thinks their breakup is a world record, and I'm billing $5 a minute to hear about it. This all started when Karen filed for divorce after 15 years of marriage, claiming Greg's a lying, cheating, no-good monster who ruined her life. The file's a soap opera. Emails of their fights, bank statements showing Greg's suspicious spending, and Karen's diary entries that could double as a thriller novel. I'm reading it, thinking, Karen, you're not the first to think your ex is Satan. My job's to get her a fair settlement, alimony, assets, maybe some peace. But she's more interested in revenge than results. I meet Karen in my office, a room that's seen more tears than a rom-com. She's pacing, waving her arms, saying, Greg's the worst. He hid money, he flirted with the neighbor, he never loved me. I'm nodding, trying not to check my watch. Karen, I say, this is costing you about $5 a minute. Let's focus on the settlement, not his personality. She snaps, you don't get it. He's evil. I'm thinking, lady, I've heard this song before, and you picked the guy. My plans to negotiate hard, split the house, secure alimony, while keeping her rants off the record, the hearings in a courtroom that's all beige and boredom, packed with other miserable couples waiting their turn. Judge Harper's presiding, a woman who's heard every divorce sob story and isn't impressed. Greg's lawyer, Mr. Tate, lays out a case that's calm but cutting. Greg wants a 50-50 split, claims Karen's exaggerating. I'm countering with Karen's contributions. Homemaker, supported Greg's career, pushing for more. Then, the first surprise. Tate produces a bank statement showing Karen withdrew $10,000 from their joint account before filing. The judge's eyebrow goes up, and I'm scrambling, arguing it was for household expenses. I'm clawing back ground, painting Karen as the backbone of the marriage, when she decides to play her own lawyer. During a break, she whispers loudly, he's hiding assets. I know he's got a secret account. The bailiff overhears. Tate's taking notes, and I'm hissing, Karen, zip it. This is $5 a minute. She's muttering about Greg's shady deals, and I'm praying she doesn't tank her own case. That's when the second surprise hits. Greg's neighbor, a nosy type named Linda, testifies that Karen once threw Greg's clothes on the lawn during a fight. The gallery snickers, and I'm thinking, great, now we're a reality show. The hearing drags, and Karen's ranting through it, stuff like, he's a monster. I'm begging her to stay quiet, but it's like reasoning with a soap opera star. I argue for a generous alimony package, citing Greg's higher earnings. The judge rules. 60-40 asset split, alimony for 5 years. Karen's fuming, saying, that's not enough. He deserves nothing. I want to snap, Karen, you're the one who married him, but I nod, packing up. She storms out, probably already drafting her next complaint. Driving home, I'm replaying the bank statement, Linda's testimony, Karen's meltdowns. I did my job. Got her a decent deal, kept the system fair. But Karen's too busy hating Greg to see it. After 26 years in law, 15 in divorce cases, I've heard it all. Every client thinks their ex is the worst, their divorce the ugliest. I turn up the radio, let the noise drown out the drama. Tomorrow's another case, another Karen, another day to wonder why I didn't pick a quieter career. For now, I'm just glad I don't have to hear about Greg's secret account again. Story 21, Texas family law attorney. How controlling their spouse, usually husband, is. Verbal abuse. The husband only wants 50-50 possession of kids to waive child support. The wife only wants primary conservatorship to receive child support. Constantly thinking spouse is purposefully delaying the case, even if it is a court scheduling issue or judge's order. Seeking supervised visitation of kids with no supporting basis, usually husbands. Thinking they shouldn't pay as much child support if they don't see their kids very much, when in fact it is the exact opposite. Withholding visitation of kids if the other spouse does not pay child support. At least in TX, non-payment of child support is not a factor in visitation. Adultery. Even clients who are swingers allege adultery, which is impossible to prove in a swinger relationship. The spouse making less money thinks they're entitled to more, like an 80/20 division of property instead of a reasonable split. Not saying 50-50 is always fair, but it is usually close. Clients with a reimbursement claim demand the other spouse pay them $X, when the entire community estate is worth much less than $X. There are many more, but these are just off the top of my head. Story 22. My wife and I had no kids. Married 8 years. She's a cheating, lying, gold-digging bitch, and I can't fucking stand how shallow she is as a human being. But we did the divorce right. No lawyers, no bullshit. Just filed the paperwork and went our separate ways. We always promised each other if we ever split, that's how we do it. I thank her and respect her for keeping that promise, if for nothing else. Yeah. Definitely for nothing else. Story 23. I'm a legal assistant for a family law attorney. The amount of clients that tell me they want full custody of their kids and actually think they have a shot at getting it is astonishing. I don't think I've ever seen a party get all of their custodial rights taken away from them. Also, clients seem to think that their spouse cheating on them will give them the upper hand in front of a judge. California is a no-fault state, so the judge couldn't care less if your husband or wife cheated on you. No, it's not going to get you more spousal support. No, it's not going to get you a bigger share of custody. The judge might think they're an asshole, but that's about it. Clients also seem to think that things should be happening overnight. The courts don't work like that. When we file for CV per Sendi Second, SS, it takes at the very least a month to get a court date. The judge may or may not make orders at that hearing depending on the circumstances. Unless it's an emergency situation, it takes a while for these things to happen. I have so many clients that call me every day wanting an update on their case. The one that irritates me the most is the clients that call regarding disputes they have about their bills. Are you going to charge me for this phone call? Why, yes, I am. We charge for all the work we do on your case, and that includes the phone calls I get from you every day. Yes, it did take me 2 hours to fill out that paperwork for the hearing you wanted. Having an attorney isn't cheap, and people try to take advantage of us left and right when it comes to their bills because they don't agree with what we're charging them for, even though all of that information is listed in their retainer agreement. Sorry, my rant got a little off topic. I'm currently at work talking to our favorite frequent caller. Story 24. I worked as a divorce and family law paralegal for a while. That shit is depressing. They think their divorce is the most important divorce on the planet. If you aren't actively working on their case when they call, they are offended. Unless you are Brad Pitt, I'm not going to be working on your case 24/7 when I have 60 other cases to work on and deadlines to meet. Why they're getting a divorce? I live in a no-fault state. No one cares why you are getting a divorce. No, the judge does not want you to write him a letter explaining how you know your husband cheated on you and with how many women. Jesus, everyone cheats. People change. Blah blah blah. Their case is going to go through the courts much faster than anyone else. Yes, I know, I live in the historically fast divorce city of Reno, but that isn't the case anymore. With a cut and dry divorce, it is still going to take you 6 to 8 weeks. Particularly nasty case with kids, property, business, a year or even years, depending if it goes to trial. If you live in California, get a Xanax prescription because that shit is going to take forever. Once we submit our paperwork to the judge for whatever is going on, we can't make the judge look at it any faster. If you make us call the court every day, they will move slower on your case and they will work slower on all of our cases. Chill the fuck out. It will get a decision. Those are the important ones. Basically, find a lawyer you trust, and for God's sake, trust them. They know what they are doing more than you do. If you are confused, ask questions. We don't expect you to be an expert in how to get a divorce. Once you are divorced, move on and enjoy your life. Story 25. That being hostile, stubborn, or argumentative is going to somehow benefit them during the divorce proceedings. The opposite is true. Yes, divorce is an emotional process and feelings are always going to be a part of it, but the more willing that the parties are willing to work with each other, the better the outcome will be for everyone involved. Also, unless you live in certain states, it does not matter to the court the reason you are getting a divorce. Your partner could have cheated on you for 5 years, or squandered all of the family savings on booze and hookers. In a no-fault state, like California, it makes no difference whether you are the side in the wrong. You can do it yourself. I can't count how many cases that I've had to clean up because people have tried to do the divorce themselves. Consider that if you had pretty serious medical problem, you wouldn't try to cut yourself open and fix it yourself. But people seem to think that even though they're still amicable with their STBXs that they're able to handle a serious legal issue such as divorce on their own. Story 26. So, there I am, slouched in a family courtroom that reeks of stale drama and Lysol, propping up my client Brian, a 38-year-old dad who's neck deep in a divorce that could double as a Reddit thread in r. Am I the asshole? Brian's fighting for custody of his 2 kids, and his ex, Lisa, is out here acting like he's the villain in a Lifetime movie. I'm his lawyer, armed with 90% coffee and 10% hope, plus a gem of wisdom my dad dropped when I told him I was popping the question to my now wife. Marry whoever you want, son, but pick your baby mama like you're defusing a bomb. Spoiler. Brian didn't get that memo. Welcome to my corner of Reddit. Family law, where the stakes are kids' bedtimes and my sanity's on life support. This whole dumpster fire started when Brian and Lisa's marriage went kaput after a decade of "I love you" turning into "I loathe you." Lisa's gunning for full custody, claiming Brian's a workaholic who'd rather clock overtime than read bedtime stories. The case file's a hot mess. Lisa's venomous texts, school reports about the kids acting out, and Brian's schedule that screams, "I live at the office." I'm flipping through it, thinking, Brian, my dude, you didn't just marry Lisa. You procreated with her. My mission? Prove he's dad of the year, or at least dad of the week, to snag joint custody. Meanwhile, my dad's advice is looping in my head like a cursed TikTok sound. I meet Brian in my office, which is basically a broom closet with a law degree. He's slumped in a chair, looking like he hasn't slept since the Bush administration, muttering, "Lisa's making me the bad guy. I just want my kids." I nod, channeling my inner Reddit op, and say, Brian, we'll show you're all in. School pickups, soccer games, the works. But you gotta keep it chill, no shade throwing. He groans, I should have known she'd be like this before we had kids. I'm screaming internally, y'all think? But I keep it profesh. Plan A. Stack up evidence of Brian's dad vibes and pray Lisa trips over her own narrative. Cue the courtroom scene, straight out of a low-budget drama thread. It's a beige box with flickering fluorescence and a gallery of nosy spectators who probably canceled their Netflix for this. Judge Carter's up there, a woman who's seen every custody war and isn't here for sob stories. Lisa's lawyer, Evans, comes out swinging, painting Brian as a ghost dad who's all work, no play. I'm ready to clap back with receipts. Photos of Brian at the kids' recitals, emails about doctor visits, when the first curveball lands. The kid's teacher takes the stand and drops that Brian's the parent who actually shows up to conferences, while Lisa's a no-show. I'm mentally fist bumping, thinking, take that, Lisa. This is gold for our case, and I'm milking it, arguing Brian's the real MVP. Just when I'm riding that high, Brian decides he's the main character in a pro-revenge thread. Evans is droning on about Brian's work hours, and Brian leans over, hissing loud enough for the back row, she's full of it. Always lying. The gallery perks up like it's a live episode of Jerry Springer. I'm shooting him a look that says, dude, I'm billing you for this chaos, and whisper, Brian, zip it or we're screwed. He's grumbling about Lisa's bullshit, and I'm begging the universe he doesn't go full meltdown. Then, boom, second plot twist. The social worker's report mentions Lisa's new boyfriend, some guy with a rap sheet shadier than a used car lot. Judge Carter's eyebrow does a slow climb, and I'm like, oh, Lisa, you played yourself. I pivot hard, arguing Brian's house is the chill zone the kids need. The hearing drags like a 3 a.m. Reddit scroll session. Brian's muttering the whole time, dropping gems like, she's the worst mom ever. I'm hissing, cool it, man, we're winning. While mentally quoting my dad, be careful who you have kids with. I wrap up with a banger of a closing, hammering Brian's dad cred and Lisa's questionable life choices. Carter rules. Joint custody. Brian gets weekends, Lisa's primary during the week. Brian's half thrilled, half pissed, muttering, I deserved more time. I'm this close to saying, bro, you married her, but I just shrug and pack my briefcase. He claps my shoulder, says, not bad, lawyer guy. High praise, I guess. Later, I'm in my car, decompressing with the radio cranked, replaying the teacher's mic drop, Lisa's boyfriend bombshell, and Brian's near implosion. I did my job. Locked in joint custody, kept the scales balanced. But man, my dad's advice, born from his own divorce when I was a kid, hits different now. I was 5 when he split from my mom, and that line about choosing a co-parent stuck with me. I've slung it to my buddies when they're ring shopping, and Brian's case is exhibit A Y. Lisa's out there, probably badmouthing Brian to the kids, while he's just trying to be a dad. I shake my head, thinking, Reddit would eat this up. Tomorrow's another case, another Brian, another round of dodging custody war grenades. For now, I'm just glad I'm not the one co-parenting with Lisa. Story 27. Potential divorce clients don't want to believe that if they and their spouses can't actually afford to maintain 2 separate households now that getting a divorce won't somehow magically make it affordable. I do my best to help them have reasonable expectations. I tell them what they should expect. I tell them that many times getting a divorce means that they'll be giving up the home they live in currently and the possibility of home ownership in the foreseeable future. I suppose I could just whip them up and say, let's get that son of a bitch. Sign here and give me your money. But I don't. I send a lot of divorce inquiries to marriage counselors, from whom I receive no remuneration. I feel like many divorce practitioners in my area give people unrealistic expectations. Then they can the flames of discord. And then they profit. I prefer criminal defense practice. It's more honest. I feel like I am providing a more valuable service when I'm protecting people from the awesome power of the state. Story 28. Lawyer here. Only been involved as an attorney in a few divorces, because that is not my area of practice, but other than the responses given by so many others, the thing that clients tend to think is that they have a foot they can put down about things. You can tell that judge I am not accepting less than 67%. Good luck with that. I don't care what he says, I'm getting the house. Well, you don't have to care what the ex says, but you do have to care what the judge thinks about what the ex says. I am that child's mother and I say he will go to this school, not that school. Also known as the ol utero ipsa loquitur. N.B. Being the mother does not come with plenary authority. Story 29. I feel like my divorce was different. I decided to file and found an attorney that would file our collaborative divorce to save us both some money. That was the plan. My ex met with this attorney and shortly after accused him of being sexually aggressive with her while talking shit about me. Normally, I wouldn't believe my ex, but I ended up getting plenty of email messages with porn from my attorney. He also CC'd a group of others, which was weird enough until one of them happened to be his daughter that, accidentally, called him out for his behavior by replying to all. After that guy, my ex got her own attorney who ended up dying during the case. From my ex getting our children taken away by protective services to discussing her new clit piercing in court, mine was pretty unique. I think I lost a lot of faith in the system during this ordeal. Story 30. Well, I think my divorce was unique. My boss at the time my ex and I split up had gone to an ACLU fundraising auction. One of the items in the auction was a coupon for a no-fault divorce, put up by some divorce attorney in a county near mine. No one would bid for it, so it was paired with a rocking chair. My boss bought the rocking chair, and therefore had this coupon. He didn't even know me at the time. I went to work for him shortly after that. My then wife and I just wanted to end it. She had slept with a minister from another state and then planned a summer camping trip with him, and I told her at that point that I was done. I moved out and refused to get back together, so there we were. So my boss gave me the coupon. Guess he didn't know he would need it later, and I used it to get my divorce. Didn't cost me, or anyone besides the lawyer, I guess, anything at all. Unless you count part of what my boss bid for the rocking chair.